Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the ARL 44. It's a tier 6 French heavy tank. It's located on the north spawn of Abbey and it's under the command of Elirox. And we've got no engine noise, so we'll start that again. This time with engine noise. Yeah, Wargaming, fix your game. Okay. We'll speed it up just a little. There you go. That's better. We're back where we were, but this time round we've got the engine noises. Well, what can I tell you about the ARL 44? It's actually a transitional tank. What I mean by that is that the French lost all of their arms building equipment when the Germans invaded in 1940 and took over. And France was the second biggest builder of tanks after the Soviet Union before the war. Of course, after the war, it was the Americans and the Soviet Union who were building more tanks than anyone else. The French decided they needed to start getting back into the industry again, and in 1943, in secret, the Vichy government started plans to actually make a new heavy tank. And the designers used the B1 and all the other designs that they had around to come up with a proposed heavy tank for use by their forces. So it was a transitional tank because what they were actually doing was trying to keep the arms industry alive. Oh, nice shot. Trying to keep their arms industry alive even though they had to do it in secret. And the tank that they came up with, well, it wasn't a very good design compared to some of the other tanks out there, but it was French, and that's what they wanted, a French vehicle. Now in this battle he's armed with the 105mm gun, 330 Alpha and 223mm penetration with the premium rounds, which he's loaded at the moment, and with the standard rounds it'll go through 175mm. And surprisingly, the front of this tank is 120mm thick on the front glacis, which is of course a very obvious glacis, but it's angled so well that you actually get 170mm of armour. So it's pretty good protection against 90mm guns or even 105mm guns for that matter. So you don't really want to aim for the upper glacis unless of course you're using premium ammo. The front of the vehicle, the front of the tank, was actually cast, but the sides and the rear were actually made from turrets. Oh, found a KV2. And the sides and the rear were actually cast, not cast steel. They were plate steel that was actually taken and cut off the French battleship Dunkirk. He's not going to get another shot until he pulls out behind. Oh, well, he blows them away anyway. Okay, P43 Biz, he should easily be able to go through that with standard ammo. But he's loaded the premium and yet takes care of that one. So he's now got 3 kills. Going for his 4th on the 40 TP. Yep, he's gone. He's scything his way through the enemy tanks. Unfortunately, the design was very outdated, and despite the fact that originally they were going to build 500, they eventually cut that number down to 150, and then they cut it down to 60 in the end because the war ended and they just weren't needed. It was supposed to be a tank that was capable of taking on Tiger IIs and the like, but really, to be honest, it wasn't that capable. And, well, in the end, powered by Maybach engines, which is kind of odd really considering the fact that at the end of the First World War the Char 2C actually also had Maybach engines. So yes, at the end of at the end of the Second World War it just wasn't needed anymore, and so this tank was effectively obsolete. And it made one appearance at the Bastille Day celebrations, 14th July, and then it was written off during the 50s. and replaced with pattern tanks which had 90mm guns as standard. This tank was originally supposed to carry a 75mm when they were designing it. Then they switched it to a 90mm gun, and the 105mm gun that they've put into the game, well, that's not the original. That's not what it was supposed to carry. Well, he's going to go for this M44, who's almost out of juice. Oh, he's gone. Okay, so we've got an IKV-65 too. The enemy's still got 3 tanks, but I think it's almost certain that they're going to win this one. That 40 TP is not looking so healthy. Yeah, he's telling the guy to pull back. You are low on juice, and if you don't, you are going to die. He'll easily take care of this IKV-65 too. Auto aims on. Guy pulls back into cover. He knows that that's a tank which he can't defeat. He can penetrate it with his 90mm, but he just can't kill with one shot. And hello. Oh, he didn't kill him, but he did badly wound him, and he's a ram kill. Go for the ram kill. Boom, there you go, on your side. So that's his 5th kill. There's 2 enemies left, and they are both capping, but I don't think they'll be capping for long because we've got tanks headed in that area and they'll reset. So I think that might give Elirox a chance to drive up the other end of the lake road. So what happened to the ARL 44? Well, it was confined to the museums. There's 5 of them actually still in existence, 3 of which were range wrecks, I believe, and are actually being restored. One's in the Museum de Blind in Saumur in perfect condition, and another one is a gate guard, I believe, at one of the French regiments. So you can still see one if you want, but it's kind of outdated. In fact, the word ARL comes from Atelier de Construction Ruil, which is the army workshop. They were the people actually putting it together. And 44, by the way, this is the year that the design was technically started. So ARL 44 is the Army Workshop Design 44. There's only one enemy left. It's a Jackson. He's got a 90mm gun. He's probably going to get, what, 2 shots before Elirox shuts him down. Unless, of course, he's run off and he's holding that position at that little gap that's ahead of us on the west side. I kind of get the feeling that Jackson's actually chasing after the M44 on our team. He's going down the west side of the map. Yeah, does look like it, doesn't it? So he's on his first circuit of the map. He's completed 1 circuit. Now he's going to complete his 2nd. Now actually this tank does, this as a heavy tank, it does have a reasonably good speed. I mean, 37 kilometers an hour is not quick, but it is quick for some heavy tanks, you might say. And I suppose you could say that's quite good considering how heavy this tank is. It is a very heavy tank indeed. Trying to remember, it's 50 tons in weight. Yeah, originally the design was supposed to be 35 tons, but in the end they actually just kept on increasing armor because they were taking the armor off the battleship, they were taking extra armor on the front plate, and yeah, it was quite a heavy tank in the end. In fact, the funny thing is about that turret, if you look at it, you can see there's a door at the back of the turret. The gun was so long that even if it was in the travel position with the gun at the back or facing backwards, it was too long. So they actually had to pull the gun back out of its mounting, and it would extend back through the turret. So they turned the turret around and then they pulled the gun back, and the gun would go out of the back of the turret, or the breech would go out the back. So the gun was actually sort of like midway in the tank, but at least then the gun didn't extend over the front of the vehicle and hit any obstructions. Okay, we found the Jackson, and he just killed our 40 TP, but he's not going to kill anything else. Elirox has auto-aimed onto him, and... oh! What happened there? He disappeared for a second. cloak of invisibility. Can he get around in? No! And he now knows where we are as well, because he must have seen that round. And he's waiting for us. That was odd. He auto-aimed on. I think that was his mistake, really. He shouldn't have auto-aimed. And no, fired when he wasn't fully dialed in. And the gun's not the best. Oh, he gets one round into us, but he won't get many more. We can take at least 2 rounds from that 90mm, possibly 3 actually for that matter, because Elirox has been very careful not to get hit. Come on, he wants that top gun. And there he is. Okay, just the top of the turret showing. Remember, this is an M10 hull. Oh, hits him in the tracks. And that long reload. The standard reload is 9.59 seconds. Oh, didn't get that one in. So he's got a second shot in. Now, Elirox is in trouble because if he gets another one in, he could kill Elirox. You've had your 2 shots. Now you have to make it count. And if the Jackson runs away, and it looks like he is trying to run away, or maybe he's faking it to pull Elirox in. And you can't really side scrape in this tank either, because the big sides of the vehicle and the suspension arrangement means that it's all part of the hitbox, so to speak. Shells will actually go through fairly easily. So you shouldn't really side scrape in any ARL. I think some people will be tempted to do it. The M44 on our team's gone up the other end of the map. He's gone back to his cap and he's doing another circuit. I have the feeling the Jackson is chasing him. I also have the feeling the Jackson may have gone up the east side and he's gone up into those that elevated area between the 2 channels, and he's waiting for Elirox to go into the cap and then he'll shoot at him. 40 TP's cutting across in front of this area. He's a bit vulnerable. The big worry, of course, is if that Jackson finishes off the 40 TP, then it's very, very possible that the Jackson could, if he finished off Elirox and the M44, win the game. Now, that would be a bit embarrassing. But I don't think Elirox wants to let that happen. There's the Jackson. He didn't go. And he's just finished off the 40 TP. So Elirox is going around the cap because he would set it off. And... oh, he gets around him, but it doesn't kill the Jackson. And the Jackson's upset. And he's decided to pull back and try and get a shot in. He misses. No, I think you've just got to take the bull by the horns and cut straight across that cap area and force the Jackson to try and pop out and hit you. Just drive straight across. That's the M44. I don't think he's having much luck. No. So he's still there because the 6th sense went off. No, we should go the other side of the rock. Not this side. The other side. The M44 is keeping him suppressed for the moment, but he is watching. Now, it is possible that he might have actually gone to the right, gone between that gap and got into that little area on the right side. Elirox decided to disengage. Now I wonder if he's actually going to go around the rock as the 40 TP tried to. What are you trying to do, M44? He wants to go to the cap area. I think that's unwise. The 6th sense tells us the Jackson's looking, and there's the 1 minute hooter. Clock ticking down now. M44 would be making a mistake if he tries to go into cap. There's the Jackson. saw what was happening and came round, but it's too late because this time round Elirox doesn't miss with his auto aim and he wins the game. Here's the end of battle results, and it's a first class tanker for Elirox in the ARL 44. He managed to get a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a fire for effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, and he picked up a top gun for getting at least 6 kills in the game, and his win rate from that battle was 7,576, which is Super Unicum standard. If we look at the team score, we can see that the reason he didn't get the high caliber was that Jackson got that, and he also got a top gun, 2,879 hit points, and you can see why he was so eager to get Elirox, because he was on for a Radley's, and he had 7 kills, just needed another one to get it, and he was denied by Elirox in the game, who took the win. And 2,430 hit points is still very, very good. They were obviously equally matched. The third highest damage was that IKV-65-2. He got a tank sniper and 1,710 hit points of damage. When it came to kills, it was Jackson who did the best with 7. Then we got Elirox with 6, and then the Chi2 on his own team with 3 kills. And when it came to base XP, it's Elirox with 1,138. 851 went to the Jackson, and then 661 went to the 40 TP on his own team. He fired 13 rounds in that game, 11 direct hits, 9 penetrations, damage of 2,430 hit points, all of it done at close range, 5 hits received, 3 penetrations, 2 non-penetrations, and 480 hit points of damage blocked by armor. It just goes to show a lot of the shots that actually hit him right in the front of the vehicle. So even with that sloped armor, 90mm rounds are capable of penetrating, especially if they're fired if they're APCR or heat rounds. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 6 enemy vehicles damaged, 6 killed, and he earned 42,746 credits. But because he did fire a lot of premium rounds and he did use premium consumables, he actually ended up with a loss in this game of 29,161 credits. He got 25 bonds for the battle, 1,707 XP, and no multipliers, so that's all the experience points he took away. So the ARL 44, it's kind of it's a difficult tank because it's a very tough stock grind, all the way up from the 75mm all the way up to the 105mm, and of course that makes it very, very tough to get past. It's one of those obstacle tanks where you have to get past it if you want to move further up the line. But you can do some pretty good battles if you get the 105mm, where you just auto aim onto the target and blast away. But I think Elirox in this battle, it proved that auto aiming on sometimes doesn't work, and if he'd actually gone to a manual aim on that first shot he had on the Jackson, I think he would have got him even with a blind shot. The fact that he auto aimed on, the moment the auto aim locked off, his aim went off the target, and so he wasn't able to get an accurate shot. So sometimes auto aiming is not a good idea. Sometimes it's better just to aim manually and then take a blind shot, and that might have given him the battle earlier. I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.